my background is really in digital media and how to communicate well using digital media, and really kind of unlocking the potential of this new medium to drive all sorts of outcomes. And in particular, prior to this, I actually had run my own charity and was actually a local councillor and responsible for public health. So it's almost come full circle. So 20 years later, that I'm now looking forward to talking about using some of those sort of digital media and behavioural influencing skills in the world of public health.
That's great. You've even written a great book called Infinite Gamification.
Yes,
well.
I've written a book. Here it is. I always have a copy next to you, next to your desk, just in case someone asks. But yes, it's an excellent book. It retails $7.99 at Amazon. It is the main thing that it's to be used for is so that you can design your own infinite gamification program. And an infinite gamification program is one that's sustainable and just keeps on going.
Yeah, so that's really interesting. So that, in essence, is part of your talk, isn't it? Can you give us a bit of insight into your talk at Gamification Europe? What's it going to be about?
Definitely. So I think probably the first thing we need to look at is discuss is what is the problem. I mean, it's all very well. We're all obviously going to be affected by coronavirus, so it's something I can comfortably say it affects us all. The question is it obviously it's a disease that affects everybody differently, and it's also a disease that is asymptomatic, which means that you don't necessarily know you've got it. So the only way that we are managing it right now is through social distancing and the sort of extreme forms of that. So the problem for us is for each community, whether that's a kind of a local kind of community or a national one, or even as the international community, is how do we get ourselves across the age spectrum to comply with social distancing and so prevent the spread of this virus. And so of course that's a question that we all have to consider very carefully, is how do we communicate in such a way that we are social distancing? And I've been looking at how we as how government and local government in particular have been communicating, and there are some problems with the approach that governments are using, and I'll just list three of them there, so to give you something give you something to think about, really, and say, because obviously you don't want to come to a talk solving a problem unless you know what the problem is. So let me try and explain to you the problem, and hopefully by listing three things, that'll give you the sort of influence. Okay, so there is a problem with the way we're doing it right now. And that will then sort of lead to being interested to think, how can we do it better? And I'll just stand straight away. I don't have the solutions. I don't have the solutions for every specific case, but what I do have is a methodology and a model and a way of thinking about things that will and using gamification and everything we're doing at this conference, Pete, to actually improve these problems. So this will be
great. This will be great. So if you set the problems now, people can start thinking about them, and then when they come to your talk, we'll have a great discussion.
And that's what I'm really hoping. I'm hoping we'll get the right people there so that the discussion is really valuable for everybody. So the first problem is that we're sharing dashboards designed for public health officials with ordinary citizens. Okay, so it's a classic error that many business insight managers do, is that they take the reports that they're being given as managers, so somebody with responsibility for, say, all of Buckinghamshire or all of Kent, and they take that report and they say, what an interesting report, let me then send it out to all my people. And of course there are some key problems with that. Firstly, it's a management report, so it's designed for managers, not for ordinary citizens. It's not personalized. It's not relevant to me as an individual, and there's no narrative that makes it emotionally engaging for me, and ultimately it's not actionable. I can't do anything as a result of this management report. So that's the first thing they're doing wrong. They're just sharing their management dashboards and giving them out to ordinary citizens. That's a recipe for disengagement, frankly.
It's a classic thing people get wrong in gamification projects all the time.
Exactly, and one of the reasons that gamification exists is it's helping to personalize, to give good feedback to what we in the gamification industry we call people players. That's ordinary citizens in the world of coronavirus statistics, but the citizens do need to have personalized, relevant statistics that they can action, and that's one of the things that we need to solve. The second thing that everybody is doing wrong is they're sharing lag indicators instead of lead indicators. Now, lag and lead is something that if you're involved in sales, you'll be very familiar with those terms, or if you've read my book, you'll be familiar with it. But effectively, a lag indicator is something that where you're giving a score or a metric after the fact. So number of cases after the fact, number of deaths, mortality after the fact. These are all statistics that I can't do anything about because they've already happened. That I cannot directly influence those numbers. So by sharing, by focusing on the lag indicators, I mean, the classic one is the R number. I mean, there's very little I can do about the R number once I'm given it. It's really very much too late. So the second problem they're doing is they're trying to engage people and engaging systems to make changes, but they're sharing stuff they can't change.
I agree. Yeah. Hit me with the third problem. How bad is this?
The third one is that they're making, and this is maybe a more nuance, but they're making a negative outcome look positive. So to give you an example, we're all conditioned from school, from games, from sports, that a higher number is a better number, right? I score more goals, my team does better. I get a higher mark at school, they're better. So of course, when I look at numbers, I'm at one level, I'm looking to see numbers go up. And of course, if you're sharing a negative indicator like weekly cases per 100,000 people or number of deaths, then I'm seeing that number go up. And again, we're not tuning into the human psyche, which actually wants to see numbers go up. So the third, and this is a difficult one to solve, is we need to get away from making negative numbers look positive.
Yeah, so subconsciously we're thinking, hey, we want a better score than our neighboring country.
Correct.
Which would be a higher number of cases, which would be terrible.
Exactly. And I'm top of the leaderboard of number of cases. I mean, how awful is that?
That's yet another reason not to use leaderboards, maybe.
Well, it's not to use leaderboards of the wrong metrics.
Yeah.
So leaderboards per se is just a mechanic. There's nothing necessarily wrong with the leaderboard. It's just what it's leaderboarding that matters.
Excellent. Leaderboarding almost sounds like a torture mechanic.
Yeah, no, it's like waterboarding, isn't it? Sorry. Yes, ranking is a simpler word.
Very good. Okay, that's brilliant. We've set the three problems. I can't wait to see what people, what you suggest as your process and what people think about that. In terms of the conference itself, which is only a few days away now, what's your experience of past Gamification Europes and other gamification conferences? What do you get out of those? And then what are you looking forward to? And this one?
So I think I've always got two things out of past gamification conferences. First of all is the relationships. I think you make relationships with other people who are thinking about the same issues that you are, that you just wouldn't get anywhere else in the world. So I've made relationships through gamification conferences that have gone on to be very valuable in terms of my own kind of development, but also in terms of helping others, helping clients. And then the second thing is you do get some very interesting talks. And the one that I recently reshared actually, Pete, on LinkedIn was Jeff Gomez's came and we did you did the whole conference around what was called the hero's journey, and he came and gave a talk on why the hero's journey was dead, and it was now all about a multiplayer journey, so more like the Marvel universe where you have lots of characters all developing rather than just one male individual who gets to the gold. And so that was very interesting, and that's made me look at stories and narrative in a whole new way. And I think had I not come to the conference, I just simply would never have kind of been exposed to that thinking, and I was really, really glad I did.
Yeah, one of my sponsors that year, because that was 2017 in Brighton, said, "I don't care what you paid for him, he was worth every penny."
Yeah, no, that's right. He really was. He really was worth every penny.
And what are you hoping for in a few days' time? Have you spotted anything that's caught your interest?
So I think I'm sort of interested to see how the virtual format works actually, and how I'm really pleased it's on Remo. I like it as a networking tool, and I'm very sort of exhausted by just continual Zoom conferences. So I'm looking forward to the ability to actually have chats outside of the main sessions with peers and other people interested in gamification. So I think that's the bit that's really caught my interest, is that we're using remote and allowing for that time for networking.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's one of the things it's about, is building the community, the gamification community. Thank you so much for your time today, Toby. It's been brilliant.
Great talking
to you. I can't wait for your talk and to solve some big problems.
Thanks, Pete.